In today's Meta Monday episode, with a lot of ongoing activity with Melga X, what other decks can utilize this engine? In exploring other loops, the fact that the Melga X deck can pivot into Ulforce Vidramon Zero's almost infinite is honestly astounding. Per the usual, I'll go over the card by card, the strengths, the weaknesses, and the combos. You may find some unique techs or tricks that you could implement in your own builds, but remember, this build isn't perfect, it's simply a baseline for you to start. This deck runs 4 level 2s, 12 level 3s, 10 level 4s, 8 level 5s, 6 level 6s, 0 level 7s, 10 option cards, and 4 Tamers. 4 level 2s, I base this deck in purple, for multiple reasons. Number 1, you can utilize a lot of recycling elements that are available. Number 2, you have ways to not only pitch cards to the trash, but to also utilize those trashing effects to draw additional cards. And number 3, purple has the best methodology when it comes to filling your trash. To that end, Starter Deck 16 Tsunomon was the egg choice. Because this Digimon draws cards if your hand is 6 or less, this helps with keeping your hand constant. Not to mention, this effect is not limited to once per turn. Other considerations were BT14-EX5, considering this card is also not once per turn when it comes to trashing the top card of your deck. The only problem is there is minimum control of what you can trash. Demi-Meramon also forces a promote out to utilize that on deletion effect, and BT6 Tsunomon requires trashing cards from the hand to go off. For level 3s, with the restrictions of Starter Deck 6 Gabumon, if this was available at 4, this deck would be even more nutty. While this Gabumon is not once per turn, its Starter Deck 16 Retrain is. And of course, with those restrictions, I kinda just filled in those other 3 slots with other Digimon that meet 2 conditions. 1, they are purple, and 2, they have Gabumon in their name. Does BT2 actually do anything? It can sometimes. But EX5 Gabumon X is the MVP for being able to reveal the top 4, potentially add 2 cards with Garurumon or x-antibody in their names, and if I do, trash 1. Fueling the trash is one of your major priority goals here, while also drawing, and drawing. You're digging for specific combo pieces, but most of all, Gabumon X has some insane protection, but I'm still surprised it got hit to 1. Garurumon, it's also the same. With this variant, I went with the old Starter Deck 6 Garurumons as my 4-ofs, because they aren't once per turn effects. While Starter Deck 16 can play matte Ishidas and Gabumons, that unfortunate restriction of once per turn make their utility not as great. The last Digimon for this lineup, of course, is Garurumon X from EX5. A literal Digimon that can draw 2 and trash 2 when Digivolving up, and gains you a memory of Garurumon or X-antibody as in the Digivolution sources. Needless to say, promoting up with 2 or 3 memory with a Garurumon can be very dangerous against most opponents. The level 5 line is still Wear Garurumons. Though because of the purple base, I chose not to utilize any of the blue Wear Garurumon variants. My logic behind it is that Starter Deck 16 is the only one that can cross from any color. It's also a great attacker. In combination with Wear Garurumon X, you can unsuspend twice for at minimum 3 checks with Gesture level 5s. And while true you could just keep the Metalgarurumon X or purple Melgas in the deck, experimenting with the Ulforce Vidramon Zero loop has been hilarious in many regards. Ulforce Vidramon Zero is the boss monster of the deck, that in combination with Urina Shinamaya is almost an infinite attacker. Keep in mind, when Ulforce Vidramon Zero digivolves, it unsuspends itself and a Tamer by placing the 3 cards from the trash to the bottom of your deck. Additionally, when you place a card from the trash to the bottom of your deck, you gain a memory. So when you attack, Rina Shinamaya's suspend effect can now trigger, to activate Ulforce Vidramon Zero's when digivolving effect, to return 3 cards from the trash to the bottom of the deck to unsuspend itself and the Rina you just suspended. Therefore, as long as you have 3 cards in trash, you'll be able to unsuspend every time. Nidhoggmon from BT7 rounds out the level 6s, being a possible option to digivolve into, but it's more so discard fodder to keep memory on your turn. This is a consideration to be bumped up, but honestly, not fretting too much with this deck. In regards to options, I split the options down the middle between Pummel Whack and Underworld's Call. Functionally, when both of these cards are trashed, I can draw a card, net losing 0 cards from hand. However, they act as minor security bombs or playing Digimon back from the trash. Lament of Friendship, on the other hand, covers deletion by card effects for my Garurumon Digimon if I have memory. But they also serve to reclaim my Ulforce Vidramon Zeros if they're hit in security early on, or trashed from hand. The last card to help with the trash, of course, goes to Mist Memory Boost. Nothing beats an opener like Rookie and the Rays and Mist Memory Boost to start filling that trash and drawing a card, with a delayed 2 memory for later. And finally, Tamers in the form of 4 Rina Shinomiya. This deck is no way budget friendly, considering you have to shell out at minimum $150 for a set of Rinas, but her effect is primarily used to trigger Ulforce Digimon Zeros when Digivolving effect. It should be also noted that when your blue Digimon is unsuspended, whether it be Gabumon X, Garurumon X, Weregarurumon X, or Ulforce, that's an extra memory right there. The best part is, if you promote an Ulforce Vidramon Zero up and you have 3 memory to play this card, you give your Ulforce blocker an evade through your opponent's turn. Meaning you now in some ways have a multi-blocker Digimon on your opponent's turn as well as with evade that can unsuspend and protect itself in battle, assuming you have the cards and trash to do it. For additions, you could utilize the memory fixer Mat Ishida from BT16, since you do trash cards to gain extra memory. I haven't tinkered with this card, mainly because spending a turn to play it is a little rough. Strength-wise, this deck is extremely aggressive and can be really fast, but its weakness of course is the reliance sometimes on memory. As a result, you could be blocked on memory by simple floodgates that prevent you from gaining memory except by tamer effects. Not to mention D-Digivolve, Retaliation, DP Reduction are a slew of other problems that this deck has to contend with. But your main combo of course is to build into a level 5 as quickly as possible, because even with Tsunomon, Starter Deck 6 Gabumon, Gabumon X, Starter Deck 6 Garurumon, and Garurumon X, you have a Digimon that checks 1 and could have 1 form of battle protection. However, you could go into Weregarurumon first instead and have 2 checks with 2 forms of protection, before you go into Weregarurumon X for a 3rd check. But the key combo with this deck is that with a combination of these cards and Ulforce Vidramon, you'll be net returning only 1 card with all these effects. Because when you attack, Starter Deck 6 Gabumon draws a card, trashes a card. Then Garurumon draws a card, and trashes a card. Then Rina Shinomiya suspends to activate Ulforce Vidramon's when Digivolving effect, to return 3 cards to the bottom, and then you unsuspend both Ulforce and Rina. Overall, I'm not saying this deck is the meta deck to take to Nationals, but for this type of combo, it's quite amusing. What are your thoughts on Ulforce Vidramon Zero in this format, and do you think a player or 2 might take this deck just to meme on opponents? True, metalgarurumon has a lot more utility with the deck overall, but exploring loops and seeing if Bandai will touch all of them is one thing I'm honestly curious about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you next time. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.